Check in, please. I did check in. Here we go. Buddy. Another coin for the pile in my little chest. My very, very small chest. It's so teeny weeny. So weeny teeny. It is time for one more Silent Hill F stream for October. Oh, dude, that means I can start using scary songs. My chest size, that's a 32 that's a 32 gram single digit chest right there. It's 6 pixels specifically. Any bigger to be a 32. Oh fuck. Double digit chest size. Otherwise known as a... Alright, I'm gonna launch this game. You got big chests in your dungeon, Doom Guide. That's a small chest, not big enough. It's not the size of the chest, man, it's how you use it. And this one collects a lot of coins. It's kind of weird, I looked in there last night after we were done, and the coins were gone. It was a little strange. I think perhaps we may have a thief on our hands. There we go. All villains need multiple chests. Dude, multiple chests. But I'm not a villain, so I only get the one. I am the hero. Supposedly. Allegedly. And you... my sworn nemesis. Oh, I need my controller. Big chest ahead, try 2 hands, yeah. And it shows that one chick from Dark Souls 1. So, lately I've had a little bit of an issue with snacking. So what I did is I decided to punish myself for snacking. Now, the store that I buy my groceries at has a lot of foreign imports. So I bought this bag. It's from India. Indian snacks. I'm gonna say this wrong. Masala chana. Crispy, spicy chickpeas. A tasty, crispy, spicy treat of chickpeas. So they're like toasted chickpeas. They kind of taste like, well, chickpeas. But almost like a bag of nuts, I guess. But god damn it, dude. I can only have one. These are actually pretty fucking spicy. I would say like a step above. A step above like shin noodle. Red shin noodle. It stops you from snacking so much. It's just a little bit much for me. Okay, where the fuck? Right, that's right. Last time we killed Mom and Dad. And, no, we didn't kill Mom and Dad. We fought the monsters, Mom and Dad. And now we're in the dream world, so. On the other hand, I had the opportunity to try something much sweeter, too. So, there's this dessert called mooncake. It comes from, I think, China? But it's made with white lotus paste. It's like a pastry, kinda. They come in like little individual cakes. But I usually eat just like a quarter of one. That shit is really fucking good. I was surprised how good it is. It's not really sweet. It's kind of like a nutty flavor, I guess. Oh, Jesus. And if you get it with the double yolk, it actually has whole salted duck egg yolks inside. They're kind of dried out because it was like baked. But it's actually really fucking good. I was surprised. It doesn't taste like egg. It just the baked eggs inside kind of have like a almost like a bread-like texture, I guess would be the best way to put it. And they're just slightly salty. But the red lotus paste is the primary thing that you taste. These fox statues. Is this a puzzle room? Now that's a smile only a mother could love. I want this. What is this? Ooh. An arrowhead? Ornate scroll. Purify, once and for all. Leave the filth of your world behind. Oh, his eyes are glowing. He's looking at that door. Anything else I can grab? First aid kit, very nice. I fully expect a lot of action. Excuse me. I got hiccups now because of that. I literally ate one chickpea and it fucked me up. Family physician's log, February 13th, dawn. Mr. Hidetoshi and his wife have passed away, one after the other. At time of death, the skin all over their bodies was covered in sores and began sloughing off. The smell was indescribably awful. I could not bear to take a closer look. The head of the house did not give permission to perform autopsies on the bodies. There will be no funeral, and they will be sent to be cremated immediately. February 14th, midnight. The eldest son has passed away. Again, there will be no funeral, and the body will be sent away for cremation. The eldest and second-born daughters are also experiencing symptoms that are worsening by the hour. I believe they will be in critical condition by tomorrow at the latest. Is that the family that was miraculously cured? Okay, so yeah, these all go together. Patients, so they got sick. They get sick with headache, fever, vertigo, chills, vomiting, diarrhea. It gets worse. Labored breathing, cognitive impairment, quadriplegia, involuntary movements, and their facial features appear to be deforming. Face remains stuck in expressions of constant strain, teeth bared, eyes narrowed into a menacing glare. And they may start making strange sounds. They get on all fours and crawl around. And the housemates start calling it fox possession. The parents pass away, covered in sores, a horrible smell. The son also passes away, and the daughters are infected. And then the daughters are cured miraculously. Such a dramatic recovery as a 2 hours experience has likewise never been documented. Now the housemates are whispering about a supposed curse. I can no longer chide them and insist science can prove all. Who are these girls? And why is the statue looking over here? Sucks that I don't get a map. Well, that wasn't ominous. I crossed the threshold and that was a bad idea. This looks like a Scooby-Doo haul. I thought it was funny too. Let me explore this room. Obomori Hound. Slightly restores max sanity after defeating enemy. Ooh, that's a very good one. Ah, max health and stim is very strong though. If I take damage, I'll... Yeah. Oh, you went on the corner, dumbass. What's this Scooby-Doo? Ah! Coming after... Oh, goodness. Scooby-Doo powers! Oh, they're pissing me off. Ah, fucking dying! Sarcing! Sarcing! Oh. Okay. These bitches are dead. What I should do is switch to Crow. Dre, it's like a power game. There we go. And switch back. Okay, I'm good on him. My Gunnar arm is strong and hairy. My parents warned me it would get hairy. Yokan. They're crying shit somewhere over here. There's a lot of fox statues, man. This fox man loves himself, doesn't he? He's got what it takes to be a god. Abura Age. Sounds. Okay, so I have 2 more slots. Higashi always good, because stamina is busted. Fuck. I can't go back, can I either? No, I'm stuck. Okay. Next save spot I can sell. Oh, the baby's in there. Oh, I didn't see that one. I didn't hear it either. Actually, she wrapped specifically her right arm. Uh-oh. Play fucking hopscotch with me. Oh no! Execute? Alright. Yeah, let it out. That's too many arms. It's covered them. Wait, you stupid baby. I gave you something to cry about. Oh. There we go. A back scratcher. There we go. Tempted to smudge. I'm very tempted to smudge, but these chickpeas hurt me. Okay, that's a secret wall, but I want to see what this is. More monsters. Black Sparrow crest. Badge of something is carved into it. Looks like a black sparrow. Okay, that definitely goes to the maid room. What's this? Heed revelations behind the crest. Housemaid's note. Shortly after I became their maid, there was talk of an arranged marriage for the young heir to a noblewoman. This led to the heir unceremoniously ending all his scandalous relationships with women, including one with a young housemaid named Sachie. Sachie came from a family of poor farmers, but her beauty burned shider than the sun, something that had caught the young heir's eye. By the time his marriage was being arranged, she already had a life growing inside her, and the two made vows to run away and start a new life together. And yet the young heir cruelly and wantonly cast her aside. Likely, he simply did not want his prospective marriage to be ruined. So the Senekis kicked Sachie out and drove her to some far-off place where they could forget her existence, despite the piece of the family she carried with her. Some people say that she was fighting back tears so hard that blood began to trickle from her eyes. Okay, the Senekis are mentioned before. That was the one family that hadn't been mentioned, or hadn't been met yet. A second, let me check the documents. It was the mother's letter, right? Inherited your... Even if you find yourself poor of pocket, you must never let yourself become poor of heart. You must never forget that you have inherited your father's noble blood. Okay, it's coming together now. Okay, so these letters, I'm assuming, belong to the boy that Hinako saved from the dog in the park. That boy, I'm going to assume... The fuck is that letter? It doesn't matter. That boy, I'm going to assume, is the Seneki. This is a Seneki. The Senekis are royalty. That means that that boy... He's a bastard child. A bastard. So what does this have to do with Hinako? I need to go over assets, so chocolate. Okay. I don't need script anymore. There we go. Ah, I looped back around. Perfect. Sell this. Alright. An item? Abandoned. Once and for all. Familial ties must be severed. The blackbird wishes to take the whitebird. The whitebird wishes to resist. The fox swings on his followers in triumph. He knows not the two birds in conflict. Blackbird, blackbird. I'm not exactly sure where the birds would fit here, so I'm just gonna put them left to right for now. Not shit. I can probably fix it later. Prove your intent with the crest 3. Show what lies deep within your heart. Let the line of foxes guide you. Offer the crests and lay bare your soul. Go ahead and save. That's right, there's no map. Why is there no map? That door is locked. This is the way I came, and you can't open it, so that means this is the way to go. Okay. Banquet. So the fox statues were gathered here to eat? Some. Always left, I guess. No items. No. Bandage. Nice. At least it gives you some supplies. This is kind of like a gauntlet of sorts. I'm not quite sure how the Senekis fit into this yet. They're clearly very important. Okay, let's explore this room first. Cages. Ew. It's where they beat their slaves. Their servants, I suppose. Oh, there's a... I realize there's a doll there. It's not getting up, so... Weapons. Weapons. Speaking of that movie, Weapons. You guys like horror? Weapons is really fucking good. Even if you don't like horror, Weapons is a good movie. It's got Josh Brolin in it. No, 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 no. No chance. You don't get to play. Only I get to play. Oh! I would love some stamina back, please. Gotcha! Gotcha! Shine! Okay. Time to eat some souls. I guess I'll just keep the crow equipped. Oh, I guess I should also get the hound equipped. There we go. Oh, fuck yeah. Easy, easy. Easy. Nice. Anyone else want some ass whoopings? Nothing in here. Nothing. The dolls are being held captive. But by whomstative? There's like nothing in here. Just enemies? No, that's not okay. That wall looked kind of sus, so maybe it's one of those trick walls. Well, there's nothing in here. I guess I'm going the other way. It is not Hinako, it's not the right way. No save? They took away my save spot. Those bastards. Alright, other way. Ah, the banquet hall. Strict mother's letter. Good morning, my handsome boy. Your real last name is Suneki. Called it. It is told that those of the Suneki lineage are destined to bring good fortune when the world is in disorder. In fact, that is how your father earned succession to the Suneki lineage. And you, who have inherited your father's noble blood, are sure to be next in line. To make your name, I took one character from your father's name and one character from mine. That way, when anyone from the Suneki family hears your name, they will immediately know you are our child. So what was the boy's name? I actually don't remember what the boy's name was. I think Hinako said it in the flashback, but I don't remember. Kutsuti. Oh, yes, Kutsuti. Fox got anything else for me? Alrighty. Yeah. The boys, it's Homelander. Yummers. I wonder if he likes milk just as much, too. Cages. There's something very big in these hallways. Okay, that's it. I've had enough of your nonsense. Get the gooder arm. Okay. Okay, so you do get to keep some of that. Good. That's good. That's good. Souls. Smells like off-worlder. Nothing in here either? It's just a combat gauntlet, huh? Alright. Cool. Return. Now supposedly this game is you have to play it multiple times to get the endings to understand the entire story, so I suppose I will stream this more. My next runs will be more akin to speed runs, I guess, though. Like trying to get to the end as fast as possible. Okay, I went through that door. Let's go through this door. I maybe should have saved my I heard there's something behind that wall, I heard it. I'm just gonna fight solo. And that hit me. He swings 3 times, He swings 4 times, Okay. He just kicked the shit out of me. I should have held on to my dog form. My dog trigger. My fox trigger. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Come here, you son of a bitch. Okay, it's only when you're near that he switches it up, huh? That's good. Okay. I can't see anything. I can't see what's I swear, this is one of those fucking games where like lock on just fucks you up. Every single time. So I'm not gonna log on, I'm just gonna wing it. Fuck this guy. Another one? Is that what I hear? Oh no, it's a doll, okay. Where's the fucking doll? That's a lot of dolls. Too many dolls. Should've dialed back in the dolls. Okay, I want this thing to die. I don't want him to get back up. Oh! That's fine, you can stab me all you want. Another one. One more. There we go. Give me here, bitch. Salamandius! The Salamandius. Emperor Salamandius, fourth of his line. Or first. Welcome, Salamandius. Always good to see you. I knew there was some behind this fucking wall. Alright. Another one. Okay. Any notes? Any items? Antique comb. Place for every day. Bandage. Okay. Okay. What are these bells? Drums? Bells and drums? Be a place for servants, I guess. Have a good day. Yeah, I had a pretty nice, decent day. Not much different from any other day. Did everything I need to today. And just chillaxing with Silent Hill. White Sparrow Crest. Excellent. Innocent and afraid. How are you doing tonight, Salamandius? Oh, back into the saver. Perfect. Okay. Another sparrow. Wait. Where'd my first one go? Oh, it's right there. Okay, I don't know if this is the right spot, but I'm gonna leave it here, just in case. So, one more emblem. Oh, I can sell that comb. Shrine. Comb. Excellent. No Emmas, so no increase, any of that, so that's fine. I'm gonna save. Well, actually, I'm gonna get my sanity back and then save. Here we go. Ah, excellent. Okay, these doors change every single time. So you could just start panel lining my first MG. What's an MG? Is that like a, what do you call it? Gundam? Sorry, my brain like blanked out there for a second. I like watching people make shit, but I don't know hardly anything. Master grade Gundams. Okay, I see. I gotcha. It's like master grades and high grades and shit like that, right? Nari sushi. Excellent. These foxes are ravenous. Another puzzle. Oh, he's got little kits. Inspecting his mouth? No, no, no. Oh. Get a needle in his ass. Well, I guess that was his flank. Ornate scroll. Sacrifice, once and for all. Body and soul made pure by rebirth. Offer all that is yours. Mastery. Yeah, what Gundam is it? I know I know more about the suits than I do about the actual the actual building stuff. But that stuff always interests me. Check mother's letter. Good morning, my handsome boy. I have good news. Indeed, good news to a Seneki is always accompanied by the news of someone else's death. Your father and that woman he kept as a pet have both gotten sick and died. And now your grandfather, the head of the house, has invited you to the Seneki residence to make you successor. It is a pity that I couldn't reacquaint you with your father, but at least I was able to make you successor to the Seneki lineage. Damn. You have to be a master builder. It's really just a size thing. I gotcha, I gotcha. Sword impulse. Oh, very nice. Where? Okay, there's a lot of doors here. This one is Isaac going at this door, so I'm assuming this is the way to go. Wish there was a first person view mode. It's like a bunch of foxes drinking very merry. Uh-oh. Am I immune to the... Okay, usually she freaks out, but I guess the fox shit is too strong now. Where is it? Where is it? First aid kit. Ah, shit. Divine water. Something's angry at me. Where is it? I found it. I don't want these to be alive. Charging, charging, charging. Ow. It gives birth to golems. That's beautiful. Okay, that's it. Who's got your belly, bitch? The double parry. So I want for Hinako. There we go. God damn. Oh, the other one just died. Okay. Good. Really clean looking from down. Too many tits, boobs, and bellies. She's covered in it, man. That's why they must die. Oh, it's Junko. Oh, they know each other.
ひなことほんの少しだけ話がしたいのだけれどよろしいかしら
では
お姉ちゃん殺せたしっかりとうんしっかりねしっかりって今日だけはお姉ちゃんとあなたの二人だけの秘密にしてあげるでも今日を超えてまだ生き残っていることがあるのならお姉ちゃんが彼のためにもあなたを殺すからね
あ、It's on
もう少し外していた方がいいかない
いえお時間をありがとうございます
Want to play a battle scene one day on stream that requires you to damage got him down straight away. Explode one like in Painting and Stalking, yeah. It was like Painting and Stalking crossover DLC for Silent Hill.
はい
それでは行こうか
I suppose it makes sense that the sister's gonna be a boss, because Hinako does resent her sister for leaving the family after getting married. Fox Max. Mask Crest.
あなた様のお印です
Assuming that
ね
goes back. Is there another door here? Nah, just the one. Okay. And open. Alright, this is the third crest. Solve the mural puzzle. I'm going to save. Didn't get anything to sell, did I? Just a Nari sushi, but I'm gonna hold on to that. Save. Okay.
Fear the tube.
And let us clear our minds. So it's already clear. Oh yes. Attack up for this puzzle. My brain needs all the buffs it can get, because okay. So there's 3 crests. I feel unsafe. You should. I'm a harm, damn it. Prove your intent to crest 3. Show what lies deep within your heart. Let the line of foxes guide you. Offer the crest labor your soul. Okay. And this one says, the black bird wishes to take the white bird. The white bird wishes to resist. The fox brings along his followers of triumph. You notice not the 2 birds in conflict. Is there any other scrolls? Any clues? No, okay. Okay. Let me collect these. No, I want to collect them. There we go. This one. Okay. And my 3rd one. Blackbird wishes to take the white bird. White bird wishes to resist. The fox brings along his followers in triumph. He knows it's not 2 birds in conflict. So if the fox is the leader, I'm assuming he would be in here, right? This would be his... What is that, a mirror? Maybe he's looking at himself, he sees his reflection. He's still worried about himself to worry about what's happening at the back of the line. Okay, these are all just walking along. What above is guiding the rest? This one's got a lamp. Is this one resisting? This would be the white sparrow. Okay. This would be the black? Let's see. Oh, they're all lanterns. I see, okay. The blackbird wishes to take the white bird wishes to resist. So this will be the blackbird? Maybe not. Blackbird wishes to take the white bird wishes to resist. Fox brings along his followers in triumph. He notices not the 2 birds in conflict. These are the only 2 foxes look like they're fighting. Oh, these ones are just leaving. Maybe that's the white bird. And this would be the blackbird? No. Okay. There's one more fox that's going the other way. No. Okay. I would assume it's these 2. They look like they're fighting over the lantern. So maybe it's this fox that's not correct. This one maybe? This lantern? No. Okay. What lies deep within your heart? Let the line of foxes guide you. Offer the crest and lay bare your soul. Blackbird wishes to take the white bird wishes to resist. Fox brings along his followers in triumph. He notices not the 2 birds in conflict. Okay, maybe this is the leader up here, if he's guiding the other ones. No, okay. Nada. Okay, so Fox definitely goes in one of these 3. My main assumption would be that the one in the carriage is the leader. But it could also be this one guiding them at the top. This one's actively, like, fighting that one. But these ones are, like, leaving. So I'm going to go through the ones with the leader being the one standing up. No. There we go. No. It's possible the one at the top is the Black Sparrow as well. Sorry to try them. There we go. Okay. You might be yelling at them to get this one. And this lantern could be the white one. I'm not sure if... Let's see. No, okay. What about Fox Mask down here? No, okay. Back to this one's back. No. This one back here. No. And this one to this one as well. Okay, so this is not the Black Sparrow. The blackbird wishes to take the whitebird wishes to resist. The fox brings his followers in triumph. He knows not the two birds in conflict. Okay, so Fox Mask is not the one looking back, because then he would see them fighting. He doesn't care, so it's gonna be one of these two. It's possible this is white. This is black. No, okay. No other spots to put him in. Whites. Black. You actually go through these doors. Oh, they're locked, of course. A conundrum. No, it's not the obvious answer, so that sucks. It's possible one of these is the... I would assume that was a fox mask, but it's not. What is it again? Oh, I had the wrong... Put the fox mask at the front. The very, very front. This one black. This one white. No. Ones are walking away. No. Okay. I'm almost certain black and white are in the right spot, so I suppose I could try something else with fox mask. No. There's actually a few foxes that are turned the opposite way. No. Hold up. Old folks home. Come on now, buddy. Come on now, buddy. I can't wrap my fucking head around this puzzle, so actually you might be right. I think I've got the old brain. The skin gets wrinklier, but the brain gets smoother, you know? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 spots over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 spots for the fox. I could brute force this. It's just going to be fucking annoying. I'm almost certain white is going to be in one of these two. This might take a bit. Okay. Now we move fox again. No. No. Okay. Move fox one more time. I wish it was a little easier to actually like interact with this instead of manually moving around and like every time I want to move something. Okay. This is throwing me off. This part right here is throwing me off because the fox is holding the lantern by his stick, but he still has a spot on his back for a crest. No. Okay. Okay. So with this process of elimination, this means the monk with the hat is going to be eliminated. Okay, monk is not correct. Not for black anyway. I don't see white being there either, so next. Okay, fox is on the fan? Yeah, fox is on the fan. Blackbird wishes to take the whitebird. Whitebird wishes to resist. If they're resisting, is either the one fighting with the lantern or the one walking the opposite direction. No. The fan we could consider eliminated. This one is kind of fucky. That one right there. I'm not sure what it's being inserted into. And this one right here, I don't see this one being belonging to any of them. This is trying to trick me. It's possible I got them flipped too. I just don't. You could try it at least. No. Okay. Okay. Actually, no, I want that to stay there. Doesn't say what they're resisting. It's possible the Blackbird's trying to take the Whitebird away from the procession, but it's hard to say. Okay. No. Like, you would think it's these two, right? I could flip them. No. Oh, there you go. Okay, so they were back. Okay, so the Blackbird is not. The Whitebird's not resisting the possession. The Blackbird's trying to take the Whitebird away from the possession. The triumphant fox is the one at the front. Okay. At the very front, not inside the carriage. Little brute forcing always works. It is just a logic puzzle. Alright. What have we got in here? Treasures? Ooh. Nice nails. The brute forcing puzzles in video games. Yeah, sometimes, and honestly, I don't blame you. Sometimes it's just necessary. If the puzzle's not that clear and kind of vague, sometimes it's just what you gotta do. You will get it eventually, it just takes time. What is this? What are they doing? Is that like a marriage ring? I hate this guy. You think maybe we shouldn't trust him after all these hours, after all these weird tricks he's been playing?
これで
Maybe,
最後だ
maybe I shouldn't go through with this final rite. His stupid fox
だから
face.
ここまで来られました。
もうわずかの辛抱だ
はい。
Just do it, Daddy
最
tells
後
him.
まで。
No more thoughts. Just do as I command. Oh. Waking up? Yeah, waking up. Okay. Back to the town. That nightmare wasn't as nearly as long as the others, so... Mom and Dad got eaten by the fog monster, or whatever that big white thing was. So I think it was Doom mentioned it might be the other god of the area, because it was mentioned that there was another religion in the area, and then Inari's religion showed up. So it could be these red flowers of the other god enforcing itself on the area. A little bit of what's that Jujutsu Kaisen shit called? Oh, my fucking bat's gone. It's okay, I always bring I always bring an extra. Oh, I don't have any stamina. That's not good, that's not good, that's not good. Okay. One more. And the axe fox, dude. I need to repair this shit, though. Do I have a repair? I have toolkits. Excellent. Where am I going? Okay. We did the house. That's the way I came. There's probably... Okay, I can't even go that way. I guess I'm going back to the town. Maybe to that park? I can't go back in here, eh? Nah. Oh, but there's a crowbar. More pills from Shu. Keep me nice and drugged up. Quick. Gotta max this out. Oh, there we go. Alright. Hinako is pissed. I'll be pissed too. Eat my friends. Eat my mom and dad. It's time to die, bitch. Oh, fucking. Il Sole! Puttana! Where's the sun? That's the next game that's coming. It's gonna cost 10,000. 10,000 zenis. You can see my cursor. There we go. I think maybe she's going through a tough time right now. She's a little upset, just a little bit. You'll all die, all of you. Ah! I'm gonna die. It's gonna lick me. Ugh. I hate these fucking things. These ones specifically are the fucking most annoying ones. And he fucking dodged. Let me heal up. Fucking golem. Hate golems. You gonna fucking laugh? You laugh at this. Prick. Oh. Oh. I hate the camera in this game. And I didn't get... Okay. Alright. stamina is fucking me up, man. This thing, if the delays were annoying on the other things, this thing is the most fucking annoying. He's got a lot of mix-ups. It's very hard to read him. Yeah, read this. Frick. Hugs hands out of skirt licks. Yeah. Yeah, I think they actually are supposed to be like perverts. Perverted men. Basically, they represent, you know, men looking at her more as like an object, a sexual object. Ah, tonsil. And pregnancy, of course. I got an axe to pregnancy. Do I have to actually fight this? Whoa, did you see that? I actually went past these. Do I have to fight? Oh god. Oh, good. Yeah, the belly's here. I gotta kill Mama. I didn't kid you. I didn't kid you with that. It doesn't help that stamina gets drained as well. Okay, so I need Higashi. This is the killer. Eat this! Eat this chocolate. Okay, so she lunges forward. Okay, that's the other thing. The lunges are not consistent, man. Sometimes I gotta be right. That hit me. Sometimes I gotta be right in their face. Other times I could be like 5 feet away and she lunges. That was an instant spit. And the screen. Like water. Come on, pregnancy. I want your baby to explode. There you go. The instant spit, man. And the tonsils are shitting out flowers all over the place. I'm so glad I'm not fighting him over here. Finally, it's dead. Oh, it didn't spawn a big. Okay, excellent. I'm not fighting this. My axe is broken, man. This sucks. Okay. Are you? Okay. Come on, bitch. If you like. Or don't. Jesus Christ. Okay. So this way, an axe, excellent. This way doesn't go anywhere. Ah, divine water. More sanity is always good. Would kill for a toolkit, but I'll be fine, I think. So these are mandatory. It's not fast enough. Mandatory fights super good for me. I'm gonna save scum the shit out of this. The amount of shit it's throwing at me, man, I think I might actually die. It's gonna be even worse if there's a boss right after. Red carcass. Oh, good. Okay. Tumors, beautiful. Love it. Would you like? I really don't understand why she doesn't launch sometimes when I do the heavy attack. My crowbar is about to break. Yeah, it's horrible. Okay, go right here. Okay, go right here. Gotcha. Items. Toolkit. Excellent. Bandage. Nice. At least it's forthcoming with items. I don't want to fight these tonsils, but... And he's got a line of shit I can't go past, so that's good. Come here. Come here, buddy. You guys scream? Wait, you don't scream when you're on your knees? What the fuck? Oh, good. Another golem. Not this time. I don't know you. That's my purse. Ugh. Oh. Gotcha. Alright, flowers. Flowers bad. Oh, the bat, when it degrades, your attacks change and they suck. That's okay. Shit. Took it. It's dead. Hey, you tell Minako. Yeah, these don't just explode, right? Wow, I'm not taking any chances. Why is that one so tanky? At least it kept the damage. That's good. Okay. I thought I was trying to get to the park, but... I suppose not. Something's gonna bucket me. Yeah, not good over there, buddy. A sickle. Sickle actually kind of fucks, so... Higashi, excellent. Maybe I can break this bat. Yeah, here it comes. I fucking do it. That didn't count. Are you kidding? Bad dog. Need to heal. Gotcha.
Fear
There we go.
the tube.
Fucking dead. Oh yes, the tube. Attack up. Oh, it's on. It's fucking on. The big guns are coming out now. Give me a bitch. Oh, okay. Give me a bitch. God damn, these things are tanky. Okay, he's dead. Nice. A pipe? Here's this bat. The bat. The bat kind of sucks, man. It just gets so weak once it degrades. And another pregnancy monster, of course. Alright, pregnancy. Let's do it. Ow. Bitch. Let me eat some chocolate. You just get it. Yeah, okay. I'm drinking my tea. Let's go, bitch. He's got your fucking belly. Oh god. Okay, we're good. Ew. Oh, I'm stuck. Oh, okay. No, there we go. He still know when to quit. Oh! Okay, we're good. Gotcha. Now die. Whew. Bandage. Excellent. Ready weapons. I can replace this stupid bat with. If not, I'll run back after that, Oh. Okay. Let's get her tumors. If we go back after that sickle. You know what? You know what? I just got this horrible feeling that if I die here, I have to do all this fighting all over again. Why don't I go save real fast and save scum this shit? Because I do not want to do all that fighting again. Give it a little shuffle. Last one. Last save. Last save. Okay. Okay. Alright. Let us go. Unfortunately, my axe is about to break. I'm trying not to use it. Pipe is good. So many old man games like $2 right now. Yeah. I'm gonna wait a bit and take my time with the sale because I've already bought a bunch of shit. The Steam sale. If I don't buy anything else on the Steam sale, I think I'm gonna buy Final Fantasy Tactics.
もういや私の町を返して
Capsules. Bandage. Crowbar, excellent. Oh, Emma. So we got 5 from last month, or $2 as well. The next times we beat purchase games peak, yeah. I'd love to go through that game. Pray. Okay, so not super big in the sanity. Shrine. I don't want to sell that either. I'll just wait. So you can like switch between like the old UI and the new one. I go kill whatever's ahead with this axe, then come back at the crowbar. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh no. There's also 9 more Yakuza games to play. I'm gonna be honest, you can play Judgment whatever. There's a brief plot point that's spoiled in Judgment for the Yakuza series, but honestly it's completely entirely on its own story. It's like not connected. There's one plot point regarding the Yakuza clans, but that's it. Knife. I don't want that shit. God, there's so many tumors. Okay, that's dead. Knife time. And I will say this, Judgment has the best story. The first Judgment has the best story in the entire, as far as I'm concerned, out of all their games. It really is like peak. Front to back. All the way to the very end of that game. That game has the best ending in out of every RGG game. Gotcha. Judgment 1, Doom Guide. Judgment 1 is like story-wise, front to back. The ending especially is like their best story game. Who thought being the cops in the Japan game would be peak? That's the thing. He's not a cop. He's a PI. He's a private investigator. Mizu Hanako. Last scene: colored uniform, colored skirt. Details of appearance. Left home met with wearing a. Hanako's missing sign from Hanako. Left home met with wearing a. The town telling her she's fucked. Oh, this is Sakuko's house. I still have the key to her fucking mailbox. Okay, I hate these shits. Now, I will say this about Judgment. If there is anything that I disliked about Judgment, it's the first half when you're weak as fuck. But even that, like, fits into the story really well. Yagami's no cure you, but... terms of power and strength. But goddamn, that story is fucking phenomenal. Ah, Jesus, man. I hate these flowers. And there's a golem. And I have no stamina. Okay. Okay. I hate tonsils, man. I fucking hate tonsils. There's the grab. It's on the X games. Yeah, it's like completely by itself. Honestly, you can play Judgment whenever. It takes place in the same city. There's a small plot point regarding the Yakuza, but it's completely its own thing. Ah, that didn't count, okay. You dodged that. Ah, that fucking... Gotcha. And stay down, bitch. These shits right here are the most annoying enemies in the game. Okay, at least it's dead. Jesus, man. Sakuko! Yes, finally, the spider. Greatly decreased weapon durability comes. Oh shit! Fuck yeah. Letter from the hospital. Prefectural University Hospital. Department of Psychiatry. Mr. and Mrs. Igarashi. Test results. We have compiled the test results for Igarashi Sakuko below. Results. No abnormalities found. Observation. Shows characteristics of mild autism. All of the test results were within normal range. Sakuko has autism. Who'd have guessed? Notes. It is not unusual for pubescent children to claim they can see and hear things that are not real. As they mature, these issues tend to resolve themselves on their own. I believe there is no need for concern. Regarding her fear of the dark, her response is proper and natural. Continuing to scold her may only worsen her condition. Please do not trouble yourself over Sakuko. Simply raise her with love and affection and let her mature at her own pace. I read the chapter 4 of 0 and having 100 million yen in my pockets. 3S and aged man. Bubble. Yeah, you get an obscene amount of money. Is a joke in 0. That's why money is the only thing that raises your stats in 0. Because everything else at like stores and shit, you can just afford any of it. Well, mild autism, huh? That explains why Sakuko was considered the weird child at the time. This is like 1962, isn't it? I actually don't know. Was autism like a diagnosis back in the 60s? And in like Japan of all places? It's kind of a strange... Barely, yeah. 1962 Japan. Yeah, I'm kind of curious why this... Easier... Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess that would make sense. Make it easier to understand, yeah. Autism was a diagnosis, but in the same way women's hysteria was in the 1880s. I gotcha. Well, poor Sakuko's got a... Well, she's fucking dead. I was gonna say she's got a rough life ahead of her in this part of the world at this point in time. But she's dead, so... She ain't got shit now. She's fucking dead. What is this? Kutsuti. Oh, excellent. Oh boy. The flower is pulsating blue. Tylenol enjoyers in the 80s. This is where it started. This town got shitty cherry blossom every now and then. It was all autism. It's growing on the walls. It's growing in my hair. On the fucking roofs. Given the supernatural characteristics, I suppose it would be more accurate to call it godism. Let's go ahead and save. Okay. Full weapons. Lots of items. Lost time? I don't understand the significance of this. Is it like telling her she's gonna end up missing, or she is missing currently? I noticed that. I remember, what is it? Rinko keeps telling Shu that Hinako's gone. She's already gone, or she's dead. She keeps treating her like she's dead. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense because Rinko can see her, and Shu also can see her, and they converse with her, so... Explain it to me, Miyazaki. What the fuck is going on? Gotcha. The quick draw. And the sickle fucking obliterates. More pregnancy, of course. Beautiful. Love it. I hate how it licks its hands before it pounces. The more I look at this monster throughout this game, the more, like, it actually... It's pretty fucking disgusting. Let's see what they're going for. Gotcha.
Fear the tube.
Another one. Yes, Nova. The buff up. The attack up. Oh, Hinako's pissed now. Yeah, back the fuck up. Come on. Come on, bitch. No? Okay. 3 hits. We lose. Too slow. Okay, this shit is gonna be fucking annoying. I could do. Buff up. It is time. Oh. Enough with the screams! I think Birth of Blueberry Tonsil, yeah, the blueberries sometimes they turn into dogs, so. Or golems. Horrors of pregnancy. Horrors of giving birth. Made manifest. Oh my god! How do we take a second there, miss? Take 5. Smoke if you got him. Frankenberry. Ugh. Big hit. There we go. That actually pushed me aside. You like my cursor? I like how it's just sitting there. There you go. Don't run away. Give you something to cry about. There we go. Did I get another one? There we go. God damn it. A tonsil. God damn, he squirts like a motherfucker. Red capsules, okay. Not super helpful, but... Crowbar. Oh, is this the right way? Okay, wait. I don't want to go the right way, I want to go the wrong way first. Because I want items. First aid kit. Place the pills. Got moving. Okay. More tonsils. Excellent. Bye-bye. Okay, so. Chase after the fog monster. I don't quite understand. Oh! Headaches. Oh. There it is! It's got the arm. It's got the fox arm. Is that God you? I don't know. Is that like Hinako after Inari takes her?
こんなことだろうと思いました
Don't go.
これがどれだけ失礼なこ
What you were doing is
と
incredibly
あなたにも
rude.
十分分かっているはず
Don't be rude. Don't be rude to the humans.
殺しなさい
Oh. Faceless goddess.
殺しなさいさあ
Goons even more than you do in your dreams. Look at the size of the arm, man. Look at the hairs. Very, very hairy palms.
それがあなたのためです死になさい
Oh. Shit. Is that the end of the game? No. No. Oh, one more time in the spirit realm, okay. That gauntlet was pretty brutal, not gonna lie. So she's the goddess? She's the mysterious white god? White robe god? The fog monster? Inako's the fog monster, so why is she chasing her throughout the game? Why is she chasing herself, I suppose? Fine feathers make fine birds.
当家にはふさわしくない。
ようこそどうか心安らかな日々を
And Arya wants some fucking answers. What the hell is going on? I'm eat one of these spicy chickpeas that I was talking about earlier. A salad chana, whatever they're called. I'll try not to smunch or crunch into the microphone. But this tells me to stop snacking. What is that? What are they presenting them with? Antlers? Or branches? Branches from the divine tree, maybe? Damn, they're like exact opposites too. Oh, the flowers, the red flowers. Ugh, trypophobia. If you got trypophobia, don't look at this. Oh. See, he's in on the red flowers then. god. Okay, she turns into the faceless goddess. I see someone really liked the movie Incantation. Whoever designed this. Only part is guys bothered me so far. You and me both. I think it's nasty, man. Well, her transformation was nasty. Hanako is now dead. Gone. Burned to ashes.
あなたが幸せをつかんでくれることを願っています。
It's just Persona thing, yeah. Those are spider lilies. It's like a mix of spider lilies and the white Claudia flowers. And we're gonna take some frames here too. Oh, the lighting change is what it was. Oh, now I have the arm in real life. This is where we started. This is where Sakuko's body, we left it here. Piece of chocolate for my efforts. Okay, frames are back. Excellent. Back where we started the game. And now to see the end. It's beautiful. Kutsu, spider lilies, white Claudia. Plants can hybridize, right? I don't know much about herbology, but I'm pretty sure plants can hybridize, so... I suppose the white Claudia corrupted the Kutsu and spider lilies. Don't go that way. Oh! Tell me what to do. Here? I feel like I'm not hurting nearly as bad. It could be the type of doll they are in a soul safe. I want the rage mode. Sure as shit. The doll has been destroyed. Inari claims Hinako. Can't go that way. Story. She does the Virgil meme with the lightning. This is my decision. Not really any point in exploring much now, is there? I'm just curious if anything changed though. Oh, this thing got closer though. Bandage. I'm assuming this is the end of the game. Ow. Looking to shadow the pedestal her sister made the entire time rather than be herself. Yeah, that explains why she's like, oh, the town is beautiful. All the issues are completely okay. There's no more need to fight back. This is true happiness, is being content. Do not resist. I definitely want those on. Right, close to a boss, I'm gonna switch to max HP and max stamina. Another doll. Don't want that. You won't be able to see your father or mother anymore. This. Okay, I want to kill that dog before it gets back up. There we go. Another doll. That scream's got a long range. Okay. Kill this off permanently. There we go. I know what you're up to. I suppose her sister did just embrace the role, I suppose.
家に帰る
That everyone pushed her to do, and that would be why Hinako saw it as a betrayal of sorts. Because Junko did get abused at home, same as everyone else. Any new items? Higashi. Oh, that's perfect. Excellent. Infinite staminas, infinite dashes.
世界が私を祝福してる両親にも会いに行こう
Ah, another big daddy. This one I need to go all out on. What is he swinging at? I'm gonna scratch your back. I'm gonna scratch your butt. Come here. You get real with you down here, don't you? Oh. Okay, I just wanted to soul cycle this because I do not want that to come back alive. Gotcha. Your soul. Your soul. Okay. The items would kill for some kutsu tea, but not 100% necessary. Number 2s. Yokon. I can come back because I have a comb I can sell. Just in time. Did I get an Emma? I did. Oh, perfect. Oh shit, health for sure if I can afford it. Nice. Go grab that Yokon. I want the Yokon. There's a dog following me. That's good. Bad dog. It's a bad dog. The best part about the Gunnar arm is that you don't get fucking staggered by hitting walls. That shit fucked me up a lot with the other weapons. Especially in the haunted house part. No item. Oh, I saw that save symbol. Before I touched the doll. Divine water. Not super helpful. Oh, first aid would be perfect. I suppose the chocolate. Yeah. You won't be able to stay as you are now. I'm gonna lose my good arm? Now it's not gonna be a good arm anymore? Oh! What? No! No, you cheated me, game. You fucked me on that one. Fuck no. I hit him. I hit him clean. That was bullshit. Yeah, eat this. This. Okay. Another one coming. Come on, puppers. Six, 7, 8. Sure. Any more of you scrads want to fight? We got tonsils. Deal with the doll first. But that fucking tonsil starts spitting on me. Screams and they fall down. Okay. Beef shuffle. Just die. More? Holy shit. Okay. Oh, that actually hit me. Okay.
Fear the tube.
I can't see. 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 The buff just wasn't enough, man. I need a defense up redeem, man. This attack up shit. It went straight to the camera. I gotta do it again, huh? Of course. Of fucking course. Okay. Let's go then. flashlight shit, yeah. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. What the fuck is that? Did it spawn right next to me? Oh, I thought it was just there. Okay. Alright. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, hit them both. Come on, camera. Help me out a bit, just for a little bit. Just to try to kill the dogs. He has a follow-up if you... Okay. I didn't even know he had that move. 5, 6, 7, 8. That is amazing. Okay. Tonsil and a doll. Tonsil and doll. Didn't stagger. That's beautiful. Come on. Come on. I got doggo form for the Big Daddy. Parry? Let's give him another one. I'm not even gonna... What? I'm... okay. You hit the first one, you're not guaranteed to hit the second one, huh? Finally. I'm not doing that again. I'm gonna go save. Fucking goddamn. I think, I don't know, I think maybe the arm is cool. The combat in this game is a little, I don't know. There's jank, of course, but like, I liked it early on, and the more I play the game, like the more I feel the issues with the combat. Sometimes the jank just, it really just fucks you over, man. Okay, I'm gonna equip my increase max HP, increase stamina. Mom and Daddy-o.
いな子や
And now I just had a growth spurt.
綺麗だよほらお父さん
ここはもうお前の家ではない。一人で帰ってきても敷居をまたげると思うな。
What, now you're fucking sad? What is he sad about? Both her arms are fucked. Okay, she is completely changed now. Oh. A time loop? Oh, God. Oh, she's got no fox arm now in the spirit realm. So there's a time. Okay, this is starting to throw a wrench in how I thought this was going to go. There's the doll again. Help Shibizu Hinako, please. Her brand is gone. The arm is gone. Oh, Jesus. I got no fox arm on, no good arm. That's beautiful. I'm now weak. What weapons I got? Crowbars and sickle. Okay. Shrine path. This is where you start. When you first go to the spirit realm, this is where you start. Blue spirit flames. I don't remember what those are called. In Japan. I know they're basically will-o-wisps. Will-o'-the-wisps.
くねった道まるで私の心みたい
The Emmas. Sure as shit, this is the original area. Okay. Bandage.
あんたなら全てを壊すの手伝ってくれる
Blessed hand mirror? When taking fatal damage from normal attacks, this mirror will break instead. Health, sanity, and stamina will be fully restored. Oh! A fucking, another crowbar. I'll come back for this if I need. The fucking amulet of restoration. I don't have to equip it, do I? I just hold in my inventory. Alright. That makes you think there's a big boss coming. Because typically in these RPGs, especially JRPGs, that kind of item, if not in ample supply, gives it to you because the second boss is going to be long and fucking difficult. Or sorry, second boss. The last boss is going to be long and difficult. No save spot, though. Oh.
通さないつもりか
Is it on? Oh, it's on.
そうだ
I regret taking off my, It's right there, fucking... Gotcha. Toolkit. Excellent. Divine water. Very nice. Orare. Shit. Kutsu T2. Okay, I'll replace the divine water. So I have 2 Kutsus. I don't want to run back. I'm just going to take the weapon. Where is it? Is it not a weapon here? Oh, it was a toolkit. Okay. Alright. Alright. Oh no. Don't. No, this is not the time. Come on, game. Settle down. Settle down. Silent Hill. Settle down. We're okay. We're okay. There we go. Okay. We're good. Play nice. Please play nice with my computer.
また邪魔するか。
We're running all the way to
気が済
the
む
end.
まで血の海に沈めてやる。
It's a fucking gauntlet to the end. Here's my arena. Alright. Let's do it. Really? Was that not a perfect dodge? Come on, game. Throw me a fucking bone here. Side mirror. I don't want to like waste the mirror there. Like here. I really wish Hinako would instant pull another weapon out. Staggering shit. It's not good. Oh shit, man. I hate these fucking things. This. God damn. Oh, sledge you. Yes. Gotcha. Okay. Oh, there's items laying around, which is very nice. Bandage. Actually have 3 toolkits. Take that over that, yeah, for sure. For sure. Another toolkit. Okay, I can use this at least. The sickle's a good weapon. Still no save though, hey? Red capsules. No. I don't want that shit. Are the fight is gonna be a big boy? A big daddy? Saves. Oh, good. My assumption is this right here is the final. Yeah, here's a bunch of shit that I can sell. Of course. Weapons are at max. I'll get rid of the chocolate. Chocolate's not super helpful. So I wonder what carries over into New Game Plus. I'm gonna assume upgrades. Maybe weapons don't. Yo, look at that faith. Damn, isn't that fitting? Any items here? Divine water, bandage. Number of the beast, huh? Alright. It is time in this fucking game. Maybe. Sure, everything is ready. Okay, it's time. This is where the Sakugo fight took place. Don't tell me there's a boss gauntlet here. I'd rather not fight her a second time. I don't want your fucking pills, man. Another safe spot. Kitchen knife. How about a knife in your eye? First aid kit. They are just shitting items. This doll is really telling you that this is the end. Take everything you need. Cool kids. Higashi's always good. Higashi's gonna carry me. Bandages, always good. Honestly, heals will always be the best assets to have in general. As effective HP means I can last a lot longer. Do that. So that's asset check. Kutsu tea, 2 Kutsus, 3 divine waters for sanity, 2 Inari sushis for full heals elixirs, 3 bandage heals, 2 Kutsus for infinite stamina, 3 toolkits. So I need to actually bind my first aid kits to this one. Okay. Maybe sickle, a crowbar, and a hammer. 1 light, 1 medium, 1 heavy. I think this is about as prepared as Hinako's going to be. So, 1 more save. It just says proceed as the objective. So let's proceed. This is the chamber where Shu was executed in her second nightmare, I think. Second or third nightmare. Uh-oh. Okay, this is one of the ritual chambers. Okay, it's nice that the cutscene has you going through the entirety of the spirit realm instead of manually walking through to the end. Alright, Arisama, you big fucking nerd. Here's my goddamn money. I forgot to max my stamina at the shrine. Oh well.
まさかまだ生き残っていようとは。
お姉ちゃんは所詮は向こう側の人間。私の気持ちなんてわからない。
落ち着いて。あなたがどうしてここにいるかわかる？
らない。ここはどこ？怖いや。辛い。気持ち悪い。帰りたい。
Ah, the red pills.
それは何なの？あなたいつから飲んでるの？
Shoes pills. Holy shit, she is taking a lot of them.
全然。
No, don't take the fucking Xanax, man.
落ち着くから。
もうやめなさい。それを飲むのをやめて。私にかなわないで。
Oh. And Aku's got a god voice? Like, Inari? Or did something else freeze Junko? Wanton vandalism and destruction of property.
これが全ての根源。
And Aku's actress is just giving it her all. Holy shit. Smashed up his altar. Bog? Uh-oh. Bog boss is coming to fight her? Yep, she is.
お前は私の全てを奪った。 サクコもリンコもシュウも奪い、お父さんもお母さんも。 私を返せ。奪った全てを返せ。
Oh, it's on, bitch. Shiramuku? After I buff up. Whoa!
Fear the
Oh,
teeth.
goodness. I want to heal. Let me heal first. Okay. Whoa. I would love to heal. Thank you. Gotcha. I'm gonna drink this tea. Gotcha. That attack up buff is coming in very handy. Yeah. Yeah.
立て。私を殺すんじゃなかったのか。
The Shiroku is a being born of envy and great resentment. Very fitting. Ah, not the flowers! Ugh. I need Kutsu. Or Shiramoku, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, those bosses, huh? Ugh. Oh shit, I should have repaired that. Oh well. Ah! No, 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 no! Oh, the flowers! No, 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 no. Oh. God damn it. Die, bitch. Oh, that's not good, is it? Oh, they fixed it too. Oh. What the fuck is she doing? Holy shit. Okay, alright. Oh, the fucking... What'd she say? The, her sister used to do puzzle mazes with her. Like that. I like that attack. She always wanted to find a way herself. Well, now she gets to prove herself. Get out of your fucking flowers, bitch. There. I fucked that up hard. Okay. Oh. Time for Hidari sushi. Yummers. Another maze? Oh, come on. Yeah, you're gonna stand in that shit. Gotcha. I gotcha. Oh. Gotcha. Oh. To the base. They'll try and light me out on. Oh shit. Okay, we're good. We still got the divine mirror too. Oh, I should have went for that. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh shit! Oh. It's close. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. Oh. The mirror.
認めない。ひな子を渡したりなんかしない。
Oh, game freeze. Nice encounter. Interesting. Okay. Wow.
私は
Oh,
消えない。
can I not lose?
消されたりしない。お前が消えるまで。
Oh.
なのには絶対に。
It's she has an obscene amount of health, man. Okay. I was doing okay with the hammer. So I think maybe I should break these other weapons first. She has a very strange hit range too. And delay. She has a lot of delays too. What? I have half a mind to just let her fucking kill me at this rate. Okay, if I can keep the hammer not fucking broken, I think I can do this. Using the first spin as a counter. Good to know. Fortunately, I have no stamina. I need to be careful with my assets here. Time to heal. Maybe not. Okay. As soon as she falls to her knees, it is time to leave. It said, no. What? Okay, no, it did hit me. It did hit me. What the fuck? That's wonky, man. I did not want to use it. I need to repair this. Go. Now it's time to run. Okay. Bye-bye. Outside of the range. I gotta pay attention to where she kneels, too, because there is an edge to this arena. There you go. It's a good time to heal, too. Excellent. Come on, bitch. No way. Right here. There we go. Okay, nice. Doing good. You would. You fucking would. Hirako, you gotta lunge, man. You know how to lunge when I do that attack. Like those moves? There we go. Oh, fuck. Shit. This is not good. This is very bad, actually. Finally hit her. Jesus, man. Stamina? Alright, I'm gonna scratch you. Oh no, that's it! Phase 2? that is it.
もうこんなところは嫌だ。
Done with this place. Me and you both, Nako. Fuck this fucking place, man.
こんなところもこんな奴らも全てぶち壊してやる。
Now we gotta run it back. 99 pills! Well, I think it's time to, use this pill. The runaway pill. Oh, that was a pipe. There's an actual trail of fucking pills. Tylenol Max. My Tylenol. Yeah, Sakuko was the autistic. I guess Sadako. Oh. Sudden change. I wish I knew, Hinako. Oh, we are going the wrong way, Hinako. At least there's infinite heals here. What the fuck? Who is that? The dad? Hinako! Oh. A ritual room.
私たちに誰も構うんじゃねえ。待ってくれみんな。ひなこ
Sue? He's alive?
ひなこ
Holy god! He's a big guy.
分かってやれたと思っていたのに。
What the fuck? Bill's here. Holy shit! Oh god, no. Can I go through? Thank you. Oh my god! Ah! Oh. Fucking Rico. Oh.
本当にごめん。俺が間違ってた。俺はただでも。やめろ。友達の声で話しかけるな。
The red door. Now this hellhole. Oh, the pills are everywhere. The pills. The pills. The pills are getting bigger. Oh. Right, Hinako. We're at the end. Police? This is the cops. Come out with your hands up. Why are the cops in the spirit realm? It's like the Monty Python's Holy Grail. The cops show up and arrest all the knights. How the fuck monster's still alive, huh? Is that it? That's it? No. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. To be be brought to this world, born in shackles she must be. The commandments of the olden days are harder than stone. Seized by the hands at youth, firmly clasped the girl's hands are shrouded by the colligious night. What path is there is for her to take? Colligious? I wonder what that means. Although the scent lingers on, the flowers shall fall. Spring is yet to embrace me, wherever it could be found. Promises of he and I, the vows of days past, all will disappear, lost over to the void, the pitch-black darkness. Witnessed my eyes hath the ties of man and woman as but frivolous. Yet here I now agonize as such hath befallen. When you reached out to me that beautiful hand of yours. Just play it 5 more times. I just might. For this one I might. How it tampered my heart, affections hold long and dear. What maketh one a woman? To be tainted or of sin? From the womb the red does seep. Whom such a color flows. My goodness, how tragic. I like the song, it's very soundful. But, alas, guilty, yet satisfied. Getting closer to the link so I can share my reaction? Absolutely. Go for it. You shouldn't get auto-modded. I disabled that a while back because it nailed someone else. That is a very strange link. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wedding massacre? 2 male victims.
一部被害者に使用された包丁ですが、基地内からは発見できず、被疑者は現在もこれを所持している可能性が高いと思われます。
県警本部から各局、女性被疑者は20代、
20s and wearing a wedding dress.
身長は160センチメートル少々、常吉神宮より逃走中。凶器を所持している可能性が極めて高い。各局はくれぐれも慎重に対応された。
神楽町1から県警本部。
Who's in their 20s?
の薬のようなものを犯行時に断続的に服用
The
していた
suspect was observed consuming red and white capsules at the scene of the
県
crime.
警本部より神楽町1。それは式場内で発見された
Capsules
正体不明のカプセル薬と同一のものか。どうぞ。
神楽町1から県警本部。被疑者が服用する際に口からこぼしたカプセル薬を敷地内から
Wait, so you tell me Hanako is not a high school girl? She's like a 20-year-old woman, or in her mid-20s, 25-year-old woman? What the fuck is going on? Hold on. No. Let me look at this image. Absolute cinema. Hold the fuck on. Hold the fucking phone. So she's not a teenage girl. Staying in red sunset hues lines. She's in her mid-20s. She's coked up on fucking pills, the hills steep deep in silence. She massacred people at a wedding, now away from the birdcage. Shrouded in the fog. And then went on a rampage in Silent Hill, or well, at Bisagaoka, whatever the town is. Is this in the future? I don't know. I don't know. She had the worst acid trip of all time, yeah. Shit, she was butchering everybody. I mean, this is not new to Silent Hill, right? And there's a few where, like, I think it was in 2, one of the characters asked the main character, like, they look like monsters to you? Which is kind of like a weird revelation, but perhaps the best, yeah. She was tripping the fuck out and murdering people. So, okay. I wonder if I'm missing documents. There's, so they talked about the noble family, the Tsunekis, having a bastard child, a bastard son. The son ended up inheriting the riches from the grandfather. There's also talk of a wedding. And there's also talk of, what do you call it? The debts of the father, which caused him to drink. And then there's a part where Hinako says, "You sold us," and she says, "You sold me." So, at the ending, explain video on this one. Apparently, this game features multiple endings, and subsequent playthroughs are going to be different than the first one, and cutscenes will change. What I think I'm going to do, because the combat's kind of fucking... The combat's really jank. And what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to switch the difficulty to pussy mode, and I'm going to speedrun through this game. And try and get the other endings. There's also some weird time loop shit at the end, with the white robe monster, the fog monster. Obviously, Hanako's out of her goddamn mind, but I'm curious if the new cutscenes and if there's any new documents we found can clarify some things. There's also that part at the end where the parents tell the fog monster, which is Hinako, that the father is crying and he says, "You can't come back even if you come back alone." It makes me wonder if whoever the rich guy is, Tsuneki, if he came back to marry Hinako, because Hinako saved him as a child from the dog in the park, and then he had to leave. He moved out of the town like a day later. He left the note for her saying he'd never forget her. And who else is gonna pay off the dad's debts? The dad's not gonna pay off his own fucking debt. And even when he did pay off his debt, he was still drinking. Why else would he have reason to keep drinking and be guilty other than he fucking tried to sell Hinako off to the rich guy? I don't quite understand Shu's motives, though. That's the one thing that's kind of missing for me. The same with the fox mask. I mean, Silent Hill games, the supernatural stuff in Silent Hill is always real. It's actually happening. So I'm curious. What the fuck is the deal with the fox mask with Inari? And the sword. There was a sacred sword mentioned as well, and that never appeared in the game. New Game Plus. You can now create new save data and complete a game by beginning New Game Plus with data from a completed game. You experience changes to the story and have the chance to fulfill specific conditions to unlock new endings. You also be able to play on the hard difficulty setting Lost in the Fog. I'm absolutely not doing that. Things carried over to Game Plus. Faith. Set upgrades. Okay. Non-puzzle documents. Journal information. Okay. Obtain one more. Very good. Certain key items. Okay. Lost in the sauce. I'm not doing that. Oh no, fuck no. New endings. Coming home to roost. Drown in a bottomless pit of self-doubt. Complete the story for the first time. Okay, so you're locked into that ending the first playthrough. Oh, it tells you conditions. Don't take red capsules. Oh, you actually get an ending if you don't take Shu's pills. Purify the sacred sword, or didn't obtain it. Obtain the Agura no Hote-sama. What the fuck is that? Don't take the pills. Obtain the unpurified sacred sword. Complete 2 different full endings to get the 4th ending. So, complete these 2 to get the 4th. Listen to... Okay. So, Silent Hill has another recurring thing, and that's the UFO ending. There's a joke ending in all these games. Listen to all the UFO broadcasts. On all 3 of the Great Space Invasion movie posters in order of listening to UFO radio broadcasts on the Great Space Invasion movie review at the fulfilling conditions above. Okay. Don't take pills. Purify the sword or don't get it at all. Get the Agora no whatever that is. Don't take pills. So the main thing is that don't take the fucking pills, huh? Stronger it? Absolutely not. Okay. Puzzles weren't that hard if I'm being honest. What time is it? Okay. I'm gonna go a little bit longer. I'm not gonna... I want to see if there's any major differences early on. I see that one. I do too. The UFO, yeah. There's always a joke ending. I think it was the original Silent Hill. The joke ending was there was a dog in a lighthouse. An actual, like a dog, like a Labrador, hitting buttons that controlled the monsters. And then the aliens come and pick you up. It's her job. It's not a job. Do you want to get married, Hinako?
でもお父さんに言われるとなりたくなくなる。宿題と同じだね。やれって言われるとやる気なくす。お待たせ。
お姉ちゃん。
何かいいことでもあった？
うん。昔を思い出してた。お姉ちゃんって小さい頃からずっとお姉ちゃんだったんだなって。
It's like the buddy suit from the Christmas Story, but Japanese.
私ね。
Every Alice story needs a rabbit to follow. Well, it'd be a white rabbit, but this one's a pink one.
これお姉ちゃんにあげる。
綺麗だわ。ありがとう。
I did pick continue, right? Well, I'll find out once I see my stats. I find it interesting. Ryukishi07 is like a webcomic author, isn't he? Or is he a visual novel author? Sleepy little town hidden away in the mountains. Major differences so far. I think her dialogue with the doll was different. She talked about getting married and her father telling her she has to get married. Which could just be the musings of a little girl, but after seeing that ending, I don't think it's the musings of a little girl. I think something fucky's going on in this town. Just a little bit. Okay, no real major changes so far. Whoa, that was different. The what the fuck? The ah,
とに
damn.
かく今後のことは親の方で話を進める。
お父さんひな子の気持ちだって
こんな話二度とないんだぞ。ひな子にとってこれ以上の幸せ
She's wearing the dress. It's a wedding dress. Okay.
どこ行く？話はまだ終わってない。
She's already married then if they have that picture.
それにしてもあのひな子がね
あいつは本当に高校娘だ。何しろおかげで
Help me
借
pay
金を
off
全
this
て
debt.
返せる。二度と金に困らずに済
We
む
don't have to
ぞ。
worry about money ever again.
お父さんやめてくださいよ。ひな子に聞こえますよ。
This is really fucking weird. She's a woman in her mid-20s. She's like cosplaying as a cosplaying as a rabbit. What do you think you'll be playing after this? That's a good question. October is now upon us. I'm mostly gonna be playing more horror games. I haven't seen any like new ones coming out, but I have Spirit Hunter Deathmark, which is kind of a visual novel and a horror game mixed in one. I have that live action horror movie game that I would like to. I think maybe not this upcoming weekend, the weekend after. I think I might do that, but we have more information on that later. I also have the other big one is going to be a Taiwanese horror game called The Bridge Curse 2 Extrication, which I think came out last year. I don't recall. Yeah, it came out in May last year that I would love to play through. It's going to be mostly horror games this month. You ever played Corpse Party? I have not, but I've heard a lot about Corpse Party. That's a visual novel, right?
そんなこと
An intimidating monster that appears in Shiramuku, a traditional white wedding kimono. It uses their grand fox time to compel others to obey. It looks down on me and denies my existence, but at the same time it pities me like it thinks it's better than me or something. Don't look down on me, you're no better. There's another thing here. A hideous monster covered in countless skin cysts. It spawns monster after monster from the dreadful smelling clumps of flesh it drops. Filthy found repulsive, the wonders of birth do not apply to this. It is okay, yeah. I've always heard about Corpse Party. Honestly, I haven't played a whole lot of visual novels in my time, but I think there's something I would love to like get into, because I always hear like top-notch things about visual novels stories for a lot of them, especially the horror ones. Like I haven't played it, but like I remember watching like Doki Doki Literature Club videos. You want to talk fuck? You talk about fucked up shit. That one's really fucked. Very creative too. I can't remember who I watched play. It might have been like Markiplier or some shit. Serious issue in Ibisu Gaoka. Okay, this is a new document. April 21st, Showa. 1945, evening edition. The onsen geyser that suddenly started spewing water on the 3rd of this month in Iwashimizu. Ibisu Gaoka of Yamabe district finally came to a stop early this morning. The geyser reached a height of at least 30 meters, but the ceaseless noise and pungent hydrogen sulfide gas have left residents troubled. Hydrogen sulfide gas. Town got gas. 3 individuals have been hospitalized with complaints of skin sores and other maladies they claim were caused by the gas. In addition, strong concentrations of arsenic have been detected in the geyser's water, 20 milligrams per liter. Many residents have concerns about future environmental issues this might lead to. Corpse Party is Doki Doki Beat. Really? I believe you. Some really dark stuff in that one. I might add that to maybe I'll go through it on stream even. Wonder if it's on Steam. I'll have to check. I'll check at the end once I start saying my goodbyes. I'm not gonna go too long into this playthrough, and I'll probably come back to this another time maybe. I slowly open the door. Is that what this fog is? Is this gas? Is this just a giant gas leak in this town? Everybody's tripping on fucking fumes, man. Corpse Party. Local doctors know. A fox's wedding is a common expression used for times when it rains while the sun is still shining. According to the older folk here in Ibisugaoka, however, they also use this expression for when a young girl was spirited away. Folklore pertaining to gods and spirits becoming infatuated with human women is not something unique to Japan and became found across the world. Ibisugaoka is no exception to this. Even here, there are of old tales of young girls being taken away. Young girls being taken away at a fox's wedding, disappearing forever. During the Meiji and Taisho periods, the town elders would apparently reassure the families of missing daughters that they had been swept away by a fox lord and are now enjoying a life of luxury without a care. I see. Inari-sama. Oh, we have an actual page dedicated to him now in the journal. Ibisugaoka is mostly composed of Inari-sama's believers. Oh no, that's a new page. Inari-sama's statues acts as memorials for old or broken tools. It is okay to take these tools for your own as long as you have a use for them. This is called kishu, and it's an action that's considered virtuous. It's a teaching of Inari-sama to make the most out of tools in any way. Right, so I noted that there was the shrines. There was these little fox shrines littered throughout the map, and they were all marked on the map, but there was nothing to do with them. Sometimes they had items, but some of them were just completely bare. What should I do? Oh, great kazoo. What should I do? Drinking at this time of day. A woman is only complete when she's loved. Featuring the latest fashion. Okay, this was an old one. I missed a house. Lag. I don't remember if this house was unlocked last time. I know it's always closed towards the end. The second go around feels a lot different. Right here. Inari-sama of Ibisugaoka has been the guardian deity that has protected this town since the old days, but they can be capricious at times. Sometimes they'll turn into a fox and steal chickens and dried persimmons. Other times they'll play tricks on children who don't listen to their parents. I also heard that when they fall in love with a woman they find desirable at first sight, they spirit her away to be their bride. Nothing I can interact with, but this is marked. Do you see? It just gets marked on the map, so... So I have to do not take any red pills. Find the sword and purify it, or don't find it at all. I don't remember the third condition. I'll look it up after I end stream. This house was not open in the initial playthrough. The 10th. Let's save the date though. I need a key. Research Journal Photo 1. A photo attached to a research journal appears to be a clue collected by a researcher investigating the folklore of Ibisugaoka. So there's something at that corner. Regarding the legend of the sacred sword. This was briefly touched on in the initial playthrough, and only if you went to the divine tree. So... However, it is said the sword's animosity continued to grow, even as it remained buried under the earth. So the people erected a sacred barrier around it using Jizo statues as anchors. If one wished to find the sword, they should start by looking for these Jizo statues first. It appears that the barrier works by creating a spiritual harmony that inhibits the sword's animosity. Harmony. Yin and Yang. The 5 elements of Wuxing. During this period, it was thought that everything was composed of 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Therefore, 5 was a number associated with harmony. In other words, there should be 5 Jizo statues. Are 5 such statues located in this town? I expect tracking them down will prove a tremendous task. Now, while as October is approaching. Oh, so this is a puzzle. I better go and see whether there's an Ojizo-san in town. And as much as I do want to see the other endings of Silent Hill, what I'm going to do, starting this week, is I'm actually going to flip-flop between games. I'll probably start Deathmark first. I'll continue to do Silent Hill. Maybe every other day. Key. Deathmark could take a while to get through. I'm not sure. It's a lot of boxes in here. What do you call it? The Bridge Curse 2. I don't think will take longer than two streams to go through. My father isn't fond of seeing these around these magazines. This is from Sakuko, but it's too cute for me. What is this house? Isn't that cute? He always told me, play house like a good girl should. Is this Hinako's house? Does she not live in the... He's throwing dolls back. She needs to have the next room from the balcony. Does Hinako not live in the same house as her parents? You know she pretends she's a high school student? I need a key. Use balcony key. Packing tips. A book by a well-known expert on how to carry large amounts of supplies. Oh, perfect. Nice. A boy's diary. I'm gonna be a treasure hunter. I'll make sure of it. And then I'm gonna become a millionaire by finding treasure all around the world. It's not just hunting treasure. A real treasure hunter sometimes takes on big scary beasts and bad guys. And don't forget that they have to learn how to escape dangerous traps too. I was play fighting with the girl who lives next door when Mom got mad at me. She said, what if you leave a scar on her face? Then nobody will marry her. What's that all about? I think that girl would be a really good treasure hunter though. She always finds the hidden treasure when we play treasure hide and seek. I want to become a treasure hunter with her someday. Treasure hunting game key. Small iron key. This is probably what opens all the boxes. There's one here. Right? Treasure hunt game note. You found this place too, huh? You're getting hotter. You gotta use that noggin of yours. Let the thrill of the hunt keep your spirits high. What is he going on about? I should have kept track where those boxes were. What? That wasn't there before. You're real good at this. Not any bozo could find this one. Too bad this isn't the treasure. The points for trying, you were so close. Akuko's already losing it. I'm assuming because his fog is all fucking fumes. Hydrogen sulfide fumes. Hiya! You got stabbed by my doo-doo spear and died. You're out looking around here for treasure is no more than fodder for my traps. Faded bride doll. An old doll in the shape of a bride made from clay. It seems to have been forgotten for a long time. This is the treasure? A little... This is starting to feel more like traditional Silent Hill. Kaboom! You got blown to smithereens on my doo-doo bomb and died. Anyone would have a brain would know this is be a trap. Fuck you, kid. Well, I found his treasures, I suppose. We'll get to town and then call it, I think. I'm just trying to find all these differences now. Spot the difference. Research notes on exotic herbology. Although the most famous translated Western medical book remains the New Text on Anatomy, there is a peculiar work by the name of Exotic Herbology published in the 5th year of the Ane era, 1776 AD. Strange as the text was, it has largely been forgotten by history. A forgotten missionary brought this text to Japan, along with a curious medicine that would supposedly allow one to speak with divine spirits. This drug came to be known as Kakura Makakura by locals. However, in order to have contact with the gods, one must first liberate one's soul. However, upon doing so, the individual will fall into a temporary state of unconsciousness, potentially even vulnerable to malevolent spirits. Okay, so it definitely was a missionary that brought the White Claudia over. And my assumption is it hybridized with the Kutsu. Okay, we already did that. The Kutsu and White Lilies. It is said that the kanji for Ibisu in the Ibisugaoka holds the meaning of a person who has migrated from far away. The most fanciful theory for the origin of this town is that it was once a hidden village for Taira clan, soldiers who lost the Genpei War. In the town's old customs, there are a few rules that seem like part of a secret village's code, including things like not owning dogs or washing things in the river. But whether or not it's the truth remains a mystery. So what is the Taira clan, Genpei War? I don't know the significance of that, if there is any for the story. Got some lag. The fumes are getting to my PC. Gas leaks. It was all just a gas leak, you know? Place to explore. Offered the faded bride doll. Is this the statue? I found a damaged Jizo statue in the mountains. The character for Suchi, Earth, can be faintly seen etched into the stone base. I wonder what'll happen if I offer something that relates to that character. While we're on the topic of offerings, I remembered that I offered my old doll once. My ears are met with the soothing chime of bells upon offering the item. This should do. And is this the spot? There's the photo. Yep, this is the spot. Okay, so the pictures mark where the statues are. But I have to offer something to them. Gotcha. The gears are turning. I have to be thorough with my exploration, though. Because if I walked past that house, I would not have found the statue. Luckily, I have combat set to easy, so this is the weird truck, yeah.
すいません。運転手さんいませんか?
You find the dead bird, right? That's the same. It explains the missing Hinako poster that appears at the end. If she is fucking crazy and just went fucking insane and left her wedding after massacring everybody there. Okay. Context is entirely different now. I'm assuming these women were jealous that she got picked by the rich guy to get married to him. The Tsuneki. This mysterious Tsuneki.
切り者。
Oh, it tells you there's a new cutscene.
Sakko.
Interesting. Okay.
どこ行くの？こっち通るの珍しいね。
車が道を塞いでてさ、
千鶴や？
今は誰かと喋りたくて。
私も後から行くね。
うん。じゃあね。
Sakuko calls her a traitor.
裏切り者。
Yeah, there it is. Now this could just be Inako's paranoia. It's not right in the head, of course. His Sakuko's voice was like muffled and distorted there. And she's on Shu's hallucinogenic pills. Okay, nothing near here. You're in these buildings, can't go in these buildings anyway. Once the shit hits the fan, that's all. Save and quit. Name, Suzutani Mayumi. Last seen wearing white blouse, long navy skirt, beige neckerchief with black polka dots. Details of disappearance, the rest has been torn off. The Hinako's, that's where Hinako's missing poster is, at the end of the main end of the last one. Okay, it's just a circle. I kind of miss in the Trails games there's like a fast forward button for maneuvering around. I kind of wish this game had one. At the very least, so under construction, it's fucking pothole. Combat will be a lot easier second run with all my upgrades. And I set it to story mode. No new items, so. Okay, this is where shit will hit the fan. And we'll call it. Till next time. I probably won't stream this next time. I'd like to get started on the other games, but.
Yo, Aibo.
シュウ。
あのさ。
うん。なんか言ってよ。
お前こそなんか言うことはないのかよ。
相棒にないんだったら私にだってない。
お前らしいや。
These are pills. Okay, so I can't take those at all
受け身な生き方なん
for
て
this
お
run.
前らしくないぜ。お前が自分で選んだ道なら俺はいつまでも応援するからな。
シュウ。
シュウ君、お待たせ。
ひなこもいたんだ。
リンコ。
何の話をしてたの？
いや、大した話は。
誰かとおしゃべりしたい気持ちだったんだって。
気が紛れたよ。
それはよかった。お役に立てて光栄の極み。会えると分かってたら借りてた雑誌持ってくればよかった。
ああ、貸したままでいいよ。リンコに貸した時点で戻ってくると思ってないし。
んだとこんちくしょう。笑いすぎだよ。サクコだってひなこから何か借りてるんじゃないの？
私なんかあったかな。ねえひなこ、
じゃあ私が借りてる500円も返さなくていいよね。サクコ利子つけて返すとか言ってなかった？言ってないよ。
These are supposed to be high school kids, right? And Hanako's supposed to be in her 20s. It's kind of... Oh, here it comes. So the fog monster is Hanako. In a wedding dress with the fox arm.
Ah, ごめん。何？
裏切りも。
This is Sakuro's dead. Edible starts to kick in, yeah. Shaggy, these edibles ain't shit. Wait. Oh no. Escape the farm. Sorry, this is... The context is entirely different. So we got Hinako chasing Hinako. Hinako's fate as a wife. Something to dodge there. Second progress. Look at town. Oh, of course, that's right, that shit happens. I forgot. Other way. Wait, what? Wait, what? What? What the fuck? I think I failed it. Let's go that first. What about this? I think I might have to go into the building. Barely into this run, I already fucking died. So much for a speed run. Go. Away from those walls. Away from those walls. Now that I know the game, it should be easy. Yeah, that's what I thought. Wait, Sakuko's supposed to help me up here. Sakuko's supposed to help me up here. Okay. Or Junko, sorry. I even set it to easy mode, man. It really is a skill issue, isn't it? Junko is also a little sus. I'm not quite picking up on Junko's role in all this. So she might be one of the more psychological details for this game. Okay, no, we're not taking the pills. No from Shu. Hey partner, these painkillers should work best for you. They'll not only take care of your headaches, but also any pain from injuries. I suspect that the main cause behind your nasty headaches is from you unconsciously grinding your teeth when you're upset. Does it sound about right? If you ever need to talk or anything, just call my name and I'll be there. Okay. We're not taking the pills. The pills ruins the run. In fact, I'm going to go into my inventory And I'm not going to. Can I just delete these? Oh boy. Not even gonna accidentally take the pills. Oh, but it gives you other items. Yorari heals. Instead of pills, just eat some candy, you know? Steel pipe.
ここどこ？急いで咲子のとこに戻らないと。
Oh god. Yeah, let's just get rid of those. I would absolutely hate, you know, get near the end and actually take a pill. That would fucking suck. That would piss me off a bit. There we go. All right. Oh shit, I hope there wasn't anything there. Oh well. Okay, the dolls start showing up here, right?
Sure.
That would be the way to go. The new documents are going to be very important. Store open. Oh, this is the way I came. No, no, no. Go back. Turn around. Oh, are you... You can't turn back. Okay. These are one ways only. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Turn around. Turn around. Come on. That was a waste of fucking time. Excellent, excellent. Okay. I just don't know how the combat works, so I'm not gonna fight anything really, or try not to fight shit. This is not necessary. Way the monsters move ahead. Good idea. Another Inari shrine right here. I don't know if that's important though. This one's not marked, interestingly enough. No, thing. Any new items? Not really. Red capsules. Let's discard those, shall we? Discard. This is new. This was not here in the initial playthrough. I don't think. Yeah, this is definitely new. Yokon. So there's no rooms, okay.
孫川鉄橋は崩落しています。繰り返します。孫川鉄橋は国籍不明円盤の攻撃により崩落しています。 エビチが丘地区から東へは脱出できません。繰り返します。
An unknown object attacked the eastern bridge. The second playthrough feels more like Silent Hill than the initial playthrough. That's interesting. Okay. Fucking aliens, yeah, it's fucking aliens. That could be part of the alien, ending. Frankly, I'm gonna try and go for the second ending, but if I get the alien ending, I'm not gonna be mad. Okay, this is a dead end over here, but it would be, but there's new areas now. Local doctor's note. There are cases where patients see an improvement in their symptoms, not by taking medicine, but rather by simply talking to a doctor. The cause of this phenomenon lies undeniably in the trust fostered between practitioner and patient. Conclusively, the pharmacists who have been trusted since ancient times perhaps could be said to contain a similar power to that of the local gods here. Even among the younger generations of this town, there are many who believe praying to Oinari-san will soothe pain and speed up the healing process. One's fortitude of faith is thought to have direct relation to potency. There are even some town elders who claim to have had broken bones miraculously mended after praying to Orinari-san. Oh, there was mention of the, this doll isn't there. Yeah, okay. There was mention of, the two daughters miraculously being cured of their terminal illness without medicine in the last playthrough. Another Inari-san shrine. Okay. Pills, leaving these pills everywhere for fucking Nako. Ah, you fucking bitch. No items. Okay. Okay, this house has a doll upstairs. Pills. Radio doesn't play. This leads to the back door. Both the back door and the roof exit both go to the same. Household tips for the good wife and wise mother. A collection of loving ways for mothers to create the perfect home. Nako does not look forward to motherhood that much is obvious. Given all the pregnancy monsters. Bandages. I need to get rid of these. Okay, there's a doll up here. It guards a key, I think. Yokon. It's where the doll's face is. Capsules. Okay, here's the face. Bloody key. A key with unknown bloodstains that unlocks the back door. Although it's just as well to go out the balcony, really. They go to the same alleyway. This is where the doll is. Actually bring her downstairs and run back up. Or I can just run past her, I suppose. We just bring her in this room, be easy. Her face is in here, bitch. Come on, I want to end the stream. Come on, get in here. Thank you. Backdoor key. What are items? Okay. No, it leads to a different, wait, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure it's a waste of time to go back and unlock the back door. Because I think it opens this door. Doesn't it? Well, now I got self-doubt. Hold up. Excuse me there. Downstairs. Back door. Excuse me, miss. I want what's down here. Right carcass, so that's faith. Okay, that's what I wanted. Extra faith doesn't hurt. It wasn't entirely a waste of time. She's very mad. Okay, there should be a safe spot up here with Sakuko. Sakuko's corpse. Yeah, I can call it.
ここはまずい。シュウたち無事だといいけど。
It's a little weird, this grown woman's hanging out with these high schoolers. That could be why Rinko really, really dislikes Hinako. More pills. What are those? There we go. Is there anything here? Nothing. Okay. On my way. On my way. There we go. I know what I need. I need my my horse charm. Oh, I'm in combat, of course. The dead end over here. Is there anything new over here? Basket with a bandage. Nice. Comb for the offering. Okay, this is the last cutscene. And then I can immediately save right after. Curious if anything changes here. Weird box. Diary of Revenge. According to the Nihon Shoki, one of Japan's most ancient history books, Yamata no Orochi, a colossal 8-headed dragon, demanded the sacrifice of beautiful young girls for it to devour. Upon hearing this, the wild deity Susanoo no Mikoto brought 8 barrels of sake to the dragon and lured it into drinking them. Once Yamato no Orochi had become intoxicated, he slew the dragon by chopping off all 8 heads. And according to Ebisugaoka's oldest historical records, after being decapitated, one of Yamato no Orochi's heads flew far west and fell between the mountains of Higa no Kuni. The head eventually came to life as a poisonous water dragon that plagued the land for many years to come. Higa no Kuni is known now as Ebisugaoka, There are records of toxic gas leaks in the underground water streams in the past. It is highly possible that this is where the legend of a poisonous water dragon stemmed from. However, while the local records state that Yamata no Orochi's head flew here, there is no mention of this in the Nihon Shoki. It's not hard to surmise that some shameless individuals put a religious spin on the noxious leaks to turn a profit, and falsified connections using famous literature to solidify their claim. The story of Susanoo is my favorite Japanese myth. Yeah, I like how Final Fantasy always depicts him. Or I'll even it. Lot. I just like how he's depicted in general in games and shit. He's always a big badass. Okay. The water dragon note was in the initial playthrough. And it said that Inari-sama sealed him away. But now that it belongs to Yamada, that's Yamada no Orochi. That's the more context. This fucking game. Out of my fucking way. I want to see this cutscene. It's the wrong way. Yeah, okay. No items. Notes. Toolkits. Oh shit! Holy shit! Oh my god, okay. That... I actually jumped from that. Holy shit. God damn. Motherfucker. Okay, this is Inari-sama trying. Jesus Christ, man. Headphones too strong. I made that exact same face too. No new items, no new items. It's a bunch of fucking dolls. Ow, you fucking bitch. Nothing new, okay. I got you too. Okay, we'll watch this cutscene and end it. Upstairs. Because I can run back here and save. Candy store. It makes me wonder if Hinako killed everybody. I would not touch her if to see what happened. Yeah, I wouldn't either. Fuck that. That shit was growing on her. She might be contagious.
堅苦しい神社じゃなくて駄菓子屋の娘に生まれたかったって。ここならいつでも好きなだけお菓子が食べられるよ。おやすみ咲子。今日はもう閉店だよ。咲子、私やっぱり咲子との約束守りたいよ。
Okay, after please. Be a lot easier this time. I have the easy mode on. Oh, come on, man. I was on a roll. Should go down easy, right? Oh yeah, these die way faster. Very nice. She does have a more mature voice than the others, yeah. She's supposed to be in her mid-20s. Which, like I was saying, might explain why Rinko despises her so much. She's just like this weird older girl that hangs around you, you know, so... And she spends a lot of time with Shu, so she might, you know... She might think she's like a fucking predator or some shit. And Sakuko doesn't really... If the doctors diagnose she has mild autism, you know, Sakuko doesn't give that much of a shit. To Sakuko, it's just new friend, you know, new friend. This girl's grooming my boyfriend, exactly, yeah. This woman, this grown-ass woman just shows up. She's 25 years old, she's wearing our high school uniforms, and she's just hanging around Shu all the time, like what the fuck. Now the only thing I can't parse is Shu's intentions, because he's the one giving her these fucking pills. Like, he's drugging the shit out of her. It's even funnier using the bunny ears, yeah. I had to use the bunny ears, man. I skipped out on her initially. Okay, this is the Emma puzzle area. I need to get rid of those pills. I do not want to use those on accident. Thy restless heart betrays thee as unfit for this auspicious day. Thou must first pay respect to the gods and the spirits of thine ancestors. A restless heart leads to a corrupt soul. Only through sufficient offerings laid upon many stands, that may thy soul be cleansed. Okay, we did this before. The answer is what's on the wrappings. If I remember correctly. The leaves, okay. The flowers, okay. It's this, and this goes here, no? Yeah, okay. That was my dream when I was in high school. I was a kid who had a crush on the teachers. There's always like, you know, a couple of those teachers, you know, you're like, shit, man. Please notice me, teacher senpai. Pay the meltdown for affection. Jesus, man. That makes Shu even more fucked up. Shu is really fucking... These kids, man. Headaches hit. But there should be a save right outside the store after eating Fox Massacre. We gotta walk all the way to the end. Just dash through. There we go. Saved by her prince, Inari. We got autistic kid, PTSD adult, a girl who hears voices and a pill pusher. Yeah.
怪我はないか。怪我をするようなことは私がする。君は体を大事にしなさい。
ありがとう。
I like never use the lantern after this initial area. I didn't think there was much need for it. Yeah, everyone here is really fucked up. I'm wondering if the gas leak has anything to do with their behaviors. Gas leaks and hallucinogenic pills, fucking... Place is a goddamn mess. Her being older makes this fox guy a little less creepy, but not by much. That is true, yeah. He is an adult. No, I really should be ending, but I'm curious what if the doll changes. The doll starts showing up here in the nightmare realm or spirit realm. With the messages to Hinako. It's the Emma puzzle. I don't need to interact with that. Do it next time. Shrine. It's like 16. Successful marrying age in Japan, still most country including US for the 1960s. This fucking piss knife. The knife is not that bad of a weapon. Kaiken. Nori's statue is laughing. Okay. There's a lot of parts in the middle school that talks about Hinako's school life. It makes me wonder if she's just literally like the most delusional person around, like just made it all up, being a track star and shit. Some say it's still above board. It's so weird. It's weird to me, I'll tell you that much. I remember being 16, and I would not recommend at all anybody at that age to get married. Fuck no. It's not even like a maturity thing. I mean, like, even the most mature kids at that age, we're still just kids. Getting married at 16? Fuck no. Absolutely not manage. Okay, this is where we're gonna end. So not too much change there. Unfortunately, the doll is gonna be at the end of the puzzle area, so we'll find out next time. Alright. Oh, I am thoroughly enjoying this. Did my playtime reset? An hour's 30 minutes. No, it took me way longer than that, right? 10 hours... 10 hours, 12 minutes. Huh. 10 hours to beat, huh? I think I did pretty good. I expected like 16 hours. My Steam time play must be lying to me then. Because this said it was like 13 and a half. But I've only ever played this on stream. Alright. Culture has shifted dramatically in the last 80 years. It wasn't until the early 1900s countries started focusing on community health. Mostly for the way better historical context is less than the weirdest tiny bit. Yeah, it would be considered normal at this time, I suppose. Made sense that people died young all the time. That is true. Yeah, that is true. Life expectancy is like 30 to 40 if you're lucky. Maybe 50. Agura no Hote-sama. And this one is just get the sword but don't purify it. There. Try to go through them top to bottom. But I'll worry about it next time. Have kids as quick as possible because 3 out of 5 are going to perish to Ligma or whatever the hell. Yeah, exactly. Ligma. Thank goodness. We cured Ligma. Ligma what, you might ask? Ligma end the stream. Okie dokie. Oh, I had a lot of fun. I was, I liked the ending. The bad ending, I guess is what you would call it. Because it made me want to play again. And frankly, some of these games, like I did Chronos earlier this month, or earlier last month, sorry, September. That game has multiple endings, but I did not have any. I did not want to go through that game again. This game, I do feel like going through again. I'm just gonna fucking keep it on easy mode and just kind of speed through. Thanks for stopping in, Al Salamandius, and coming to watch. It's always good to have you around, man. And we'll see you next time too. And I haven't decided if I'm going to stream tomorrow or not. If I do, it's going to be shit. It could be more Silent Hill for all I know. I haven't decided what it's going to be if I do stream tomorrow. If not, I'll stream like Thursday or Friday. As October is upon us, and I would like to get through these horror games. I fucking love horror. If it's not apparent. So, we'll solve more of these strange mysteries next time. And as always, Wanderers, take care, and farewell. I'm getting close to the Resident Evil 4 and spooky time is here. Yes, and I will absolutely sit in when you go to play it. Or if you decide to build. It is October. It is October. Smoke crack and pop some red pills.